Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Patsun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/cheating stories, where OP found out that 2 out of his 3 kids are not actually his. Let's begin. My spouse probably cheated on me 25 years ago. Does it matter now? Posted by Reddit user OldGrape1210.
About 25 years ago, I was in the military and was on a 2-year assignment, a day's drive from where my 38-year-old wife and I lived. We had been married about 20 years at that point, so I only came home on the weekends. After the first year, my wife started telling me to just stay there and not come home until my assignment finally ended. I refused and continued coming home on the weekends. She started treating me very coldly and not wanting to be intimate on those weekends. Then after another 3 or 4 months, she started randomly accusing of cheating on her and continued being cold towards me. When my remote assignment ended, I was given orders overseas for 3 years. So I started preparing to rent out our house and move my wife and teenage sons. My wife constantly fought with me about it, saying she did not want to go and that I should go by myself. Also during this transition, she was still cold and distant. My kids wanted to go, so she finally agreed to go. Once we got to the new location, she started constantly finding fault with everything with me and the location. So after 6 months there, I received permission to move her and my kids back home at the end of the year. The next 6 months were cordial at best. She was still cold, but allowed some intimacy about once a week. As the end of the year drew closer, she became excited about moving back and withdrew from me again. She stayed withdrawn from me for the last month or so. I took 2 weeks leave about a week after she departed with the kids and went back home to help out. After about 3 hours of arriving, she was telling me to just leave and go back to my base. I stayed for about 10 days and returned to my base overseas. I was there for another 2.5 years. I would go home about every 4 months for 10 days and be treated the same way as I was the first time. We would be intimate maybe twice in those 10 days, but I got a feeling she was doing it out of a feeling of obligation rather than desire. Also, she acted as if she wasn't really happy I was there, and even stated she would like it better if I did not come back home until my time overseas was finished. For that remaining year and a half, she remained cold and distant when I visited and whenever I would call her to see if all was okay. If I mentioned I had gone to a cookout or bowling, she would accuse me of cheating and hang up. She would also constantly tell me everything was my fault, and was always in her way of doing what she wanted. After I finally got transferred back, the coldness and distance remained. After 6 months back, I moved out. I stayed gone and even told her that if that is the way she was going to be, I wanted a divorce. So she agreed to marriage counseling. We went, but it was mostly a joke. She blamed her coldness and distance on me not understanding her and what she wanted. So I moved back home and just ignored it from then on. I left the military and got a job that required constant traveling. Now 25 years later, we are both in our 60s and retired. I have a lot of time on my hands now and time for self-reflection. Hindsight is almost always 20/20. Now I question her actions as I look back and analyze them. Various articles I have read from people who analyze cheating spouses. My wife's actions back then fit the pattern given by other cheaters. Even though I don't have the proof or smoking gun, there is plenty of smoke. Over the years since then, some of her friends and previous coworkers have made snide remarks about her possible cheating during get-togethers while the alcohol flowed. I have mentioned it to her a few times. She never denies what they say, but responds by questioning their honesty or that they were probably doing it themselves. We still have an occasional blowout. A few times, I have been so emotionally drained by always being who she lashes out at, that I leave for a few hours just to get my composure back. When I come back, I tell her that I will leave if that is what she wants. Then she immediately states that she never cheated on me and has always been faithful. To recap, 25 years ago, my wife exhibited the cheater telltale symptoms listed by many professionals in the marriage counseling field. She pushed her spouse away, became distant, constantly found fault with her spouse, constantly denied cheating even though never accused of it, and constantly accused her remote spouse of cheating. Also, she constantly worked overtime on the weekends at her company, even though no one else there did it except her boss. This occurred for about 3 years. So now to my question or dilemma. We have been married for 45 years now. I am now questioning our entire married years. I can't bury it in the back of my mind anymore. Should I leave this sleeping dog alone? Or should I discuss it all with her and probably tear our marriage apart? Short update 1. A few of her coworkers are still around. They were also her friends. I have to be really careful because they stay in touch on Facebook. So I knew a couple of the husbands and will possibly try to talk with them. The two oldest kids were already out of the house. Youngest lived in the video game world and never paid much attention to her comings and goings, but I will talk with them a little. Short update too, so I tried to reach out to someone and was very careful with what I said. His wife immediately called my wife, asking why we were separated and other bullshit. Glad I did not actually ask my real questions. So this tells me I can't. So we'll just confront her directly and try to get her to believe I actually know something and not just suspicion. Need to get my physical living accommodations set up here in the US first. Update 1. It has been a while since my original post and short updates. I might have posted an update after the ones on the original post. So I confronted her. She denied and kept asking who told me. She then just brushed it off as whomever it was. They must just be jealous of her. Even after I itemized her behavior back then in detail, she just continued to deny. Then she started accusing me of not being nice back then and that I hurt her by not trusting her. She also kept wiping non-existent tears. Now this discussion was over video chat, so there might have been tears. But as soon as I backed off, she just started saying I just had bad communication with her. Since then I tried to get past it, took her on a Caribbean cruise, but I just don't have those loving feelings. At this point I don't wish her any misfortune, but just want to leave her. Now my oldest son and his family decided to get ancestry DNA tests. Told me the wife and I should too. So I did, and I had my youngest do it also. Turns out my oldest son and my youngest son are only half brothers. The DNA test also shows that my oldest son is not my biological son. My youngest is. I never suspected this, but there was no fidelity. My wife was pregnant for about a month before we met. 2.5 months into our relationship, she told me she was pregnant. I was 19, so I assumed it was mine. I was quite naive and stupid then. So my upbringing and my infatuation convinced me I needed to marry her. So I ended up raising 2 kids that weren't mine. She had a 4-month-old when we met, and one that was mine. I love the 2 oldest just as much as my youngest. That will never change. I have not told the wife about this yet. I need to discuss it with my oldest son and then all 3 of them. Then I will also inform them that I'm divorcing their mother. The 2 oldest will have to ask her who their biological fathers are. I have no clue. Then I will video chat with her and inform her of everything and my intentions to file. I still feel there was at least an emotional affair and possibly an emotional affair 25 to 30 years ago, but I most likely will never know for sure. My decision is really based on the years of the emotional and threatened physical abuse, constant lack of respect for me, and lack of empathy or consideration for anything I needed or wanted. I will post additional updates as significant actions are taken. TLDR, spouse probably cheated on me 25 years ago. Does it matter now? Update 2. At the end of my last update, I was going to tell my kids the truth and then the wife. I told my kids that 5 days ago. It was pretty tough. All of my kids took it pretty good, but I think my oldest son may still be processing it. I also informed my oldest child their paternity also, not shocked at all. I do not know if their biological dads are the same individual or 2 different men. So the oldest child will get a DNA test also. I told both of them to ask their mom. Hopefully she will remember and tell them. I decided to just text my wife instead of video chat. After 40 plus years, I knew that would end badly. I would probably lose my composure and blow up. That would not have helped. Also, I am pretty emotional over this. The text was short and to the point. The DNA test said child is not mine and only half sibling to the youngest. I stated I did not accept being lied to for 40 plus years, that the marriage was over and that I was filing for divorce. She replied shortly after that. I did not respond to any of her texts. First it was a misunderstanding about her lying to me and that she did not know. Then it was just us having bad communication. Then she was sorry that I had so much hate for her, and she would sign the papers and hoped I would find someone to make me happy. Next blaming me for everything and that I never cared and never trusted her. Still, I did not respond. Then the anger really kicked in and she agreed that divorce would be best and to get it over with. All of her texting was over about 2 days. Then there was a lull for a day. I texted her that I would only text her regarding the kids, grandkids, and the divorce from now on. I included the financial support she will get and how. She gets half my military and federal pensions. She asked if I would just send all of her belongings to her. I said I would. Since then it has been dead silence from her. She has contacted the 2 oldest about everything. I have not done the paperwork yet, we'll do that shortly. That's all for now. Update 3. So not much has really transpired since my last update. I have a briefing with my lawyer this coming Monday. Soon-to-be ex continues to try and bait me into an online argument by blaming me for not loving her, never trusting her, etc. Then long texts about throwing everything we have worked on for 46 years with pictures and crap, trying to guilt me into submission. So far I have been successful in just ignoring it, staying civil, and texting only about kids and divorce issues. Presently she says she'll sign so we can just move on. Knowing her like I do, I doubt that will happen. The only issue is the house. Her house in her country is fully paid for with my retirement funds. The profit from the house will hopefully be close to that amount. So I only plan to go 70-30 on the net profit. She did not like that, but we'll see. Kids are mostly okay. My oldest has been avoiding me, so hopefully time will help her cope. My sons are okay, I just do not want to be in the middle. I promised all 3 kids I won't put them in the middle. That's all for now. Thanks for all the support. I'll update once the papers are served. Update 4. TLDR, spouse probably cheated on me 25 years ago. Does it matter now? Then DNA tests show oldest not my biological child, so filed for divorce. Papers were served yesterday via email. The spouse accepted them, signed them, and emailed them back to the lawyer. She stated, not what she wanted, but would do it for me so we could move on. So as I knew it would happen, she still lays the blame at my feet. She also had to get her digs in about the kids finding out and me making her life terrible. She also complained about me never talking to her and keeping everything in. Funny, I only started doing that when it became obvious she did not really want to hear me, discuss anything, or care about what I wanted or needed. I almost fell for the bait to get in a war of words. I just cut it off and signed off. I never knew what narcissism was until I read about it here and then Googled it. Every problem I had with her actions or lack of actions, when discussed, always was turned around as my imagination or really just caused by me. She has never taken any responsibility for the crap she has caused over the years. When I look back over the years, my every action was based on whether she would like it or would it make her happy. I know it is pretty pathetic, but when you're knee-deep in the bullshit, you really have a hard time seeing it. Now I can see her only need or desire for me over the years has only been to support her and give her the lifestyle she wanted. But as far as she's concerned, I never did a good job at that either. The next big obstacle will be the property settlement. Not because we have so much, but mainly because she thinks she is entitled to most of it. She bases that on the fact I wanted the divorce, so I should be the one who gives up the most. My next update will be a while. Once most of the dust settles, I'll come back for a final update, I hope. And now, for OP's 5th update. TLDR, spouse probably cheated on me 25 years ago. Does it matter now? Then DNA tests show oldest not my biological child, so filed for divorce. Howdy all. I know it has been a while since my last update. So here's where I'm at now. I read all the various posts and considered all the recommendations provided. Of course, most recommendations were to cut and run. That is what I initially started to do. I served her with divorce papers and worked out a property settlement. She could not get the property settlement notarized in her country due to divorce laws there and various agreements with the U.S. She also needed to come back to the U.S. to sign the house sale documents. She also needed some medical treatments that were previously needed. So she did that and visited all the kids and grandkids. She constantly tried to get me to talk and discuss why I filed the divorce papers. I did try to talk with her some. It's no use accusing her of things I can't prove. Also, I have tried to keep things as civil as possible through the house sale and medical issues. When I bring up her hateful and abusive actions towards me over the years, she just deflects or accuses me of being mean too. Now all my kids said they understood my feelings, but still pushed hard for me to not walk away from 46 plus years of marriage. I won't lie, that is a hard thing to do. No matter how I tried, I still worry about the spouse and want her medical and financial issues to be okay. So I have taken a step back and am reconsidering everything. Neither one of us will be in a very good position financially if I move forward with the divorce. I do not want to cut off my nose to spite her face. I am currently trying to do 2 things. First, I'm trying to see if I can forget the past or at least file it away. Secondly, I'm trying to see if I can accept living in her home country most of the time. Only time will answer those 2 questions. I am honestly trying to reconcile. When I first backed away from the divorce, she became very affectionate in ways she had not been in the past 46 years. That has already started to cool off, so I will watch that also. The divorce petition is only good till the end of January 2024. If I don't submit the notarized agreed on property settlement by then, the petition dies on the vine. At this point, I doubt she will go back to the US in time to get the documents signed and notarized. I have no desire to ever get remarried, even if the divorce went through, so I can live my remaining years separated on my own. I know this is not what most of you all recommended. All I can say is when you are in your mid to late 60s, you have to be very careful making such life-altering decisions. You can't ignore something that might have happened 30 plus years ago, but you definitely have to look at it with the reality of your current life. I will say that I should have ended things back 30 plus years when all of this was happening. I justified my beta behavior by telling myself it was for the kids. I knew better from my own childhood. So for those of you in a caustic relationship with all the red flags of cheating and being constantly disrespected, leave. Don't waste your adult life like I have. You can't get it back, the kids will get over it, and respect you for it. I will update again when I can answer the two questions that I stated earlier are the make or break issues.
Look, OP, while I can understand your point of view, I still heavily vote against what you decided on. I can't even imagine wasting 46 years of your life with someone that horrible could do to an individual. But going through with a divorce would still be the best course of action. Not for yourself, not for your wife, because let's be real here. Thinking about your long-term future is moot now since you guys are old and would probably get sent to the shadow realm in the near future. But you should still go through with the divorce for the sake of your kids and grandchildren. You should let them see a solid example of a good and honest man with self-respect, even if it was a little too late. You should set an example that they should never tolerate what you had to, that the moment you had solid proof of infidelity, you will leave a cheater, regardless of how long it was ago. OP, don't spend the rest of your days with a narcissistic cheater that makes you miserable. You deserve better than that. I'll be looking out for your final update. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.